Welcome to Extraordinary Women, a podcast where everyday women talk about the extraordinary things they've achieved in their lives. With me, your host, Denise O'Brien. Welcome along, everybody, to my podcast, Extraordinary Women. I am Denise O'Brien, and this is my very special guest today, Julie Hyde. Julie is an amazing woman in business. She has her own yoga practice. I am a student of hers, even though she's taken a break now. We forgive her for that. She has a baby on the way. So I've managed to grab Julie before she gives birth, which is amazing. So Julie, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Thanks, Denise. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be on the podcast and to chat with you. It's funny because I had actually said prior to all of you that I'd be taking a break, and someone said, "Oh no, that's not a break. Maternity leave is not a break." Like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, not exactly a holiday.
Not exactly. A break from business, maybe, actually.
Yeah, a break from business. Yeah, exactly. So I'd be very interested to hear about your story, how you came to be where you're at. So maybe if we start from, going back as far as school, what was that like for you? Were you drawn towards any particular subjects? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, for school was social. It's only hindsight now that I look back and I really feel there's such a lack of teaching for entrepreneurs or for people to become self-employed. I really don't feel like I was exposed to that, or that was never an option. So yes, becoming self-employed, I never even thought was on the cards. I wouldn't say I was very academic. School was social.
Okay. Yeah, and you went to school in Shannon and Clare, right? Yeah. Okay. So you when did you do your leaving cert? What year was that?
My memory's so short when it comes to these things. I think it was 2002 is when I did my leaving cert.
Okay, yeah.
And that was actually my very first time taking a yoga class, was in my leaving cert year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would have been maybe 17 or something like that. Yeah.
So you took your first yoga class age 17.
Yeah.
And so back then was yoga popular at that time, or how did you come across it?
My brother was actually, I think he was at home at the time, and he had a book on yoga, the Iyengar book, Light on Yoga, and he used to be practicing, and I saw the book, and then there was a class locally in Shannon. Like, they were very rare, there wasn't that many. And I went, and the yoga nidra, or the relaxation part at the end of the class, which is really everyone's favorite part, I think, it was the first time I felt this sense of permission to let go. And it was such a snippet of tuning in and becoming body aware that I don't think I ever really was. And it just kind of sparked a little bit of interest and curiosity. No, I didn't launch straight into it there and then, but I do remember feeling somebody offering me an opportunity to relax and let go.
Wow.
And I took it, and it was profound.
Amazing. And do you remember who was teaching that yoga?
Her name was Antoinette Butler. She's still teaching. I've done a few pregnancy classes with her with my first pregnancy, and I've ended up covering a few of her classes then as well, which was full circle.
Full circle moment. Excellent. And had you been into movement or sports or anything like that up to that point?
Yeah, so I was pretty much reared in the swimming pool in Shannon. So my dad was the manager there, and we all had to become swimming teachers and lifeguards. There was no two ways about it. It was non-negotiable in the family, so we had to do that. So I was reared in the pool. I was always swimming, and I was really active. I used to always play camogie in school. Everything and anything, always moving, always active. But when it came to flexibility, and people often say that when they come to yoga, I can't even touch my toes. There was no flexibility when I first started. I was strong, from swimming for years and playing camogie, but no, I definitely wasn't flexible.
Okay. So Yeah, because your dad, well known in the swimming circles at that time. So was it just like a given that, like, did you swim from like being a toddler?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was thrown in, I think, I was like 3 or something down in the deep end, just floating up and floating down. Yeah, no fear.
Yeah, no fear. It's they say it's the best time, obviously, to learn to do pretty much anything, but especially swimming.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
And
So
all my siblings were there, and we were always there, morning, noon, and night.
yeah,
So,
swimming was the thing at the time.
it was in our family, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us then, after your secondary school, you had your first taste of yoga. I mean, what did you think then about what am I doing with my life? You went through Leaving Cert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm sure, like many people, you hit the quarter life crisis. What is it all about? What am I going to do? Where am I going? I don't want to go to university. I'm only going for the sake of it because my friends are going. So I ended up doing the business administration PLC course, working in admin, corporate job. It was grand. It was fine. Again, life was super social, but it wasn't until I started traveling to New Zealand, Australia, that I opened up a whole new world of, there's other possibilities out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So my brother had been studying Ayurveda at the time, which is the sister science of yoga. So I used to ask him regularly, what's this good for? What's that good for? And what do you take for this? And what about that? And he said that there was a course starting in Ayurveda in Australia. I had been living in New Zealand at the time, so I went and I studied Ayurveda initially.
Okay.
And that kind of opened up the door then to a whole new way of living, whole new lifestyle.
Okay.
And came back to Ireland and eventually went on to do my yoga teacher training in Dublin, and then just continued. I was still working all the time, still working full time.
Okay.
Admin, working, and then doing the courses on top of it, and then starting to dabble a little bit in the teaching, more workshops. So then I became pregnant. So I was working full time, teaching nearly full time, pregnant with my first little boy, and then kind of transitioned then to just the teaching after he came along, because I didn't want to leave him. So it definitely started as what you call a side hustle.
Okay. Yeah. I want to come back to that part of your journey, but even to go back a little bit there. So when you were in New Zealand, you went and did this course. Like, did you feel that you had some deep down call, like, or was there part of you that was looking for something? Because you mentioned like corporate work, the 9 to 5, socializing. You were very young, obviously. You were in your 20s.
Yeah.
So what drew you to that? Because it is different, I guess, to the norm as such.
Yeah. I think questioning, I went through a dark phase where I really did question. There was no job satisfaction in corporate life.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people experience this when you get the job and you're in the job and you really wanted the job, and all of a sudden there's this moment of, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it now? And it was really deflating. When is this all that there is to life? You just work. And so that's kind of what made me feel, or made me question. And thankfully I had the support of my brother and my husband now. He at the time we weren't married. And again, I didn't want to come back home. That wasn't the solution for me. It was really to just grow and explore and learn and figure it out. And it was really hard.
Yeah, because I think when anyone goes off the popular kind of pathway, the 9 to 5, getting the job, whatever it is, like the prescribed pathway towards life, like generally speaking, people have a kind of a dark night of the soul, and then they find, but sometimes that means letting go of, maybe I don't know, friends, jobs, like things like that? Did you find that there was a process of that in your life?
Yeah, there's definitely, it's hard to be in the minority. It's hard to do things differently. And I think you have a choice. You can numb it and suppress it, or you can actually face the stuff that's come up for you and deal with it. And that's where growth is. That's where change
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
And it's very difficult, but very necessary. And I think for me, that self-inquiry and that exploration was really the turning point of just being okay with being in the minority.
Yeah. And so you were in your 20s, were you, when you were experiencing a lot of this?
Early 20s. Yeah.
And for anyone that might be listening to this that is kind of going, okay, I am going through that at the moment, or I feel like I'm getting on with life, but something is missing, I can't quite put my finger on it, there's something calling me. What kind of support, like, you mentioned your brother and your husband, but did you come across any practices? I know you were obviously studying the yoga side of it, but like, how did you cope with that? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's not just a case of I'll do this course and everything will be better, or I'll repeat these affirmations and everything will be better. There's a lot at play, physically, mentally, emotionally. I think people can get very disconnected to the effect of your daily life and your daily schedule, how that affects your mind and your body. For digestion, for the food you eat, for the people you hang out with, the stuff you watch, what you read, what you listen to, all of this. It's a very holistic it's a very holistic thing that you really need to tap into. And everybody is so different. We're all unique.
We're
all equal, but we all have our unique ways, and what's good for you might not necessarily be good for somebody else. So it's like exercise, your sleep, your diet, who you hang out with, your movement. There's a huge amount of factors that can contribute to our overall well-being.
And did you find that when you started out on that pathway, you had to explore all those areas of your life for yourself?
Well, when I started studying Ayurveda, and when that was opened up to me, then I realized it made so much sense. It ticked all the boxes because it was so holistic, as opposed to going to one person for your digestion or going to one person for the mind. It was all encompassing.
Okay. And tell me, I'm curious, I don't know a lot about Ayurveda or the teachings behind yoga. I mean, I've done a lot of self-inquiry, I've done the spiritual practices, but probably not the medicine side of it or that side of it. I've done things in different ways. So tell us a bit about that. Like, what is it? What is Ayurveda? How does it link with yoga? What are the teachings? I'm getting you to summarize that now. It's probably a bit of a longer conversation needed for that.
A whole other podcast. So it's considered the sister science of yoga, whereas yoga would be the spiritual aspect of it with the meditation and going inward, and the Ayurveda then is like to keep the body healthy and in tune with the seasons and your daily routine. So that's kind of how they're linked.
And would you say ideally a person would be more it would be more beneficial for people to have the two of them going on in their lives, rather than just going, right, I do yoga, and not being open to the Ayurvedic side of it?
I mean, ideally they are interwoven in the classes, that you do acknowledge the season, that you do acknowledge your own body type, that we are all different. One pose for one person might not suit a different constitution, that we acknowledge where you are in our lives, where you are in the day, where you are in the season, and adjust your yoga practice and your diet and your lifestyle according to that. And I'm sure I've mentioned that over classes, just slightly dripping it in, but without overwhelming, because they're massive sciences. They're they're huge. They're massive spaces.
Yeah, because when I think of Ayurveda, I think of, tinctures and
There's all that too.
homeopathic remedies. But I didn't realize, so you in the class talking about the seasons and, doing the class on that basis, you're actually drip feeding little bits of that to us in the class who may not realize it, which is great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, like, winter, it's a real restorative time.
Yeah.
Slow, cozy, nourishing practices, and the breath work then, with the comes to breath work in yoga classes, they can invigorate, they can energize, they can heat, they can cool, they can calm. And some people need a lot more heat, some people need a lot more cooling and calming.
Yeah.
I suppose giving somebody an opportunity to tune in to their own innate requirements at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do that for us.
Thanks, I try.
So in terms of your qualifications then, for anyone who's listened to this who has, it's piqued their interest, they have an affinity for becoming some kind of a teacher like you, how long is that process? Like what's involved in becoming a yoga instructor?
Once you start, I think there's no end to the learning.
Yeah.
But I started with a 200-hour, that's kind of the basic yoga teacher training course qualification. So I started with a 200 Hatha yoga, and Hatha would be considered the most traditional type of yoga. So I started that in Dublin. And then once I had that qualified, I was qualified to teach. And then after that, I started doing restorative yoga, prenatal, postnatal. I did sports yoga. And just doing all the courses, doing all the workshops, going to all the retreats. And it was great. All that learning, it's so inspiring. And then I was starting to teach a little bit, and it was real that sense of job satisfaction that I hadn't had prior.
So you found your niche.
I think so. Yeah, but then I try not to dwell on that too much, because in the business world that word is just thrown around so much.
True.
But I found what brought me joy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So in terms of getting to where you are now, so some people might look at this setup that you have and just think it's absolutely ideal. So I know I've been there in your beautiful house. You have a gorgeous custom built yoga studio, built onto the side of your house. There's enough parking to accommodate your classes. It's in the beautiful countryside of County Clare. So, was that always the ultimate goal for you? Or obviously that's inspired by you having your own children, I'd imagine.
We had traveled through Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, India. And I had seen a lot of families, businesses in families' homes. They were selling this, that, and the other. They were little shops just outside their homes. It was the women running the markets and with their babies beside them in the hammocks or up on their backs. And I just loved it. It was very connected, felt very like connected families. And when I became pregnant with my first, I knew I didn't want to leave him when he arrived. And that's when I stepped away from corporate and administration and just decided to focus on doing a few little part-time classes to get back into it. And thankfully I had this amazing support of my husband. So we have a self-build, and that's been going on for years, probably about 8 years, I think, is when we first bought a little cottage. And that was always our goal, to buy somewhere, and my husband's a carpenter, to build and extend. And then loosely throughout the idea of a little studio at home, and it all just started to manifest and come to fruition.
Wow.
And I loved the idea of being at home and prioritizing my role as a mother. And also to just continue to contribute to working a little bit and contribute to society a little bit.
Contribute to society, have your own little kind of outlet as well. You know, I'm sure it's in some way good for you to do what brings you joy.
It is, yeah, and it forces me to continue to learn and keep up my own practice. And it's good to be home with the boys and have my own flexibility and work around them.
Yeah, so two things on that. I want to ask you about motherhood and parenting, and you know, also then your continuous learning, you know, because that people will be interested to hear, you know, how you do that. So in terms of your parenting approach, and again, this is a whole other podcast, but you know, if you could summarize, you know, how your chosen way of life and all the choices you've made along the way, which obviously haven't been easy, but have been fruitful for you in terms of giving you a life that I think it's close to your values and what's important to you. How does that show up when you are parenting your children?
I mean, I'm just like any other mammy. I feel like a typical Irish mammy. I'm no more special or better because I have a yoga background. I remember somebody asked me before, so do you just not get angry at your kids? And I said, I am human.
Yeah.
But I think,
how does the philosophy translate into motherhood, parenthood? You know, what is it do you think? I mean, you kind of took yourself off the popular path, and as you said yourself, became in more of a minority at the time, especially it's obviously more popular now. So do you kind of show that example to your children? You know, does that affect how you parent? You know, are you encouraging them to be themselves, you know, unique? I'm just guessing here, like I don't know.
I think it's definitely fostered a really strong connection with nature and prioritizing nature and the seasons and being outside. And I really prioritize home a lot in cooking and gardening and making things from scratch, being at home, having home and family as a priority for me. And for my family, that we work at home. I can work at home, and I really think it's probably become like a sanctuary. That is my whole focus, to create that sanctuary. And after becoming a mother, moving a little bit away from that strong physical yoga asana daily practice into more of the qualities of the yoga lifestyle, living truthfully and living without harm, finding contentment in your everyday life, all those qualities.
Yes.
Yoga, and just bringing that into mothering. Yeah. And that has really just become priority in my family, home, that sense of sanctuary in home, and nature as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And if there ever is disharmony, you know, because I know somebody said that to you, like, do you ever get angry? You know, how do you manage that? You know, if there's ever something, you know, that's coming up for you that isn't, you know, easy or what have you.
I love to learn. I love to, when it comes to anything, I tend to have an all or nothing approach. So when it came to the yoga or the mothering, pregnancy, I go all in. Sometimes I feel like I should be given like a master's degree in pregnancy. I did all the research, all the work, and same with parenting and mothering. I love learning about it and learning how to be a better mother, or when I was doing yoga, how to be a better yoga teacher, how to be how to improve. That personal development is a really strong priority for me. So I read the books, I listen to the podcasts, I do the work. daily. And if times are challenging again, I just go back to the learning. How can I do better, be better?
So in terms of moving through difficult emotions or feelings, you have all the tools in the toolkit, and you practice, you walk the talk is what I'm hearing from you. Like you kind of show up for yourself.
I think we all have the tools in the toolkit, and we still need support, and we still need help, and we still need people around us to remind us. And we still need to go to the healthcare provider, and we still need to go to our people. We do need that support, regardless of what field you have the expertise in.
So it's okay to ask for help, and get that. Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah, it really is. We're pack animals really at the end of the day, and we need our village and we need our support system.
Yeah.
And thankfully I'm very lucky with mine.
Yeah, very good. And your family is about to grow, expand now. So you're how far from your due date now as we speak?
I am nearly 38 weeks pregnant. Yeah, with our third little baby.
Yeah. Very good. Exciting. Yeah.
Exciting times and daunting times. Even though I've done it twice before, there's still work to be done. There's still mind stuff to conquer and fears to release.
Yeah.
But again, and even though as you say, all the tools in the toolbox, you still need the help and the support and the people around you, and to do the work, to show up and do the work.
What kind of support have you enlisted, for your pregnancy that people might find useful?
I have a doula. I've had a doula for all my pregnancies. It's like a birth support person. And she was actually here with me yesterday and gave me a beautiful reflexology session. I have done the gentle birth workshops, which is very much focused on mindset. I have my daily meditation practice. I have my daily yoga practice.
Yeah.
A little bit different this time because I have two boyos to be looking after, but still trying to prioritize my own well-being, because ultimately the goal is to emerge strong and capable and for the boys, for the family.
Agile or whatever word.
Exactly.
Great. So in terms of final thoughts and comments or any other ideas that are floating around in your mind, anything that we should know about you or how you've got to where you're at, anything you feel it's important for our listeners to hear?
I think for anyone that is starting out or wants to get into business, or that whole life of being self-employed or entrepreneur, to just find joy and just spark that creativity and do the courses and just go for it. Maybe not all eggs in one basket, don't quit your job and jump in, but
because you didn't do that. I mean, you took time, didn't you? Like you gave yourself time to really establish yourself.
And keep your safety net and keep your job or your support person or whatever it is that you have. And just if you feel that idea or you feel that little notion or insight, to just go, just keep following that and trust. Be open.
Trust the process. I trust that things will work out.
Trust your ideas, trust yourself, trust the little insights that might pop into your mind. And follow that.
Great. Excellent. I love it. Well, Julie Hyde, you are an extraordinary woman, and I want to thank you for being on my podcast.
Thanks for having me, Denise. Right back at you.
You're so welcome.
You've been listening to Extraordinary Women with Denise O'Brien and guests. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, please contact me directly at Denise at o'brienlearningsolutions.ie, or check out my website www.o'brienlearningsolutions.ie, where you'll find more free resources and interesting articles. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to spread the word and get in touch if you are an extraordinary woman who would like to share her story.